In this video, I'm going to explain to you what a buyer's and seller's market is, breaking down exactly what kind of market we're in currently, so you can understand a bit more about the market overall in terms of property, what kind of things you can look out for, what are the signs if a property market is in a buyer's or a seller's market, and overall what impact that has on you. First of all, I'm going to explain what is a buyer's market, and overall you need to understand where the power lies, and this is all to do with the supply and demand, so basic economics. Overall, there's an intersection between supply and demand where it's the perfect equilibrium, where you've got supply and demand which is perfectly equal, but that is never the case. You've either got more supply and less demand, or less demand and more supply, okay? And that has an influx on the way that prices go and the control that the market has, either with the buyer or the seller. So if we're looking at it, let's say that from a perspective of if the demand or the supply, let's say this is supply increases. So the supply increases, then the demand will decrease. So what we're currently seeing then is throughout the pandemic, at least in that period, is that there was a lack of supply of houses causing upward pressure onto the house prices. This is why we're seeing house prices going so high at the moment. But we are not in a buyer's market, we are currently in the seller's market. So overall, if we're looking for buyer market signals, what are the things that we're looking for? So some of the signs that you'll see that homes will take longer to sell overall. And one of the benefits then is that you can go and view properties and you can then go out and see them, take your time on them, really run the numbers if you're looking for an investment. But otherwise, in a seller's market, you can't really do that. You're seeing houses go on the same day like that at times. But in a buyer's market, you're much more relaxed. You can think about things and you can take the time. And that's the market that we prefer, right? Is to be in a buyer's market where we're having control of the purchase. Whereas obviously, conversely, if you were looking to sell the property, then you want to be in the position where you have the control and you can dictate the pricing. Whereas obviously in this regard, we have a increase in demand and a lack of supply, which is then causing this upward pressure, and not only upward pressure, but also causing this feast or famine kind of mentality where we need to get in. We're currently in a famine. So if we're trying to get properties in the guise of buyers who are trying to get property, they're really struggling at the moment. So within a buyer's market, there is decreased competition, allowing you to really negotiate with the sellers because the options are limited for them. Then you can obviously strike more creative deals and you can then talk to them and negotiate the price down. So you have more chance then of having a better negotiation and also buying the property at a better price. And as I mentioned, within a buyer's market, prices are normally lower, and that's obviously because we have an increase in supply and a lack of demand there. So you can go out and basically take your pickings. The power then within the negotiation goes to the buyer because they can then put more stipulations in, they can negotiate the price, they can negotiate the terms, and it's way more in the favor of the buyer. So when you look at a buyer's market, overall, that's what you're looking for. So if you're enjoying the video so far, please give us a like. Let us know if you've been in a buyer's market. Can you see the difference with what's happening currently? I know I can, and I didn't even start buying property in that time, but I think in looking back at the good old days, if I got in then, well, you might be in that situation, maybe looking back on things. Let us know in the comments. Now we'll look at things from a seller's market perspective, and the current market we're in within the pandemic is definitely a seller's market. So what is happening here is that, like I said, there's a lack of supply and an increased demand. So that pent-up demand that happened within the pandemic, that has then caused the house prices to increase, and the lack of supply with housing then is causing that upward pressure, so that we are seeing an increase in houses, an increase in competition then, and overall it's harder to negotiate. So the power is with the seller, and it's perfect if you're selling in this market, but if you're buying, not so much. So the seller then has increased negotiation power. They can even ask for more, they can ask for cash. So a lot of properties I'm seeing at the moment, they are going to cash buyers only, and that's nothing to do with the condition of the property. It's just because they go with a cash purchase. You can even have multiple offers on a property and go into first and final. So that could be your first offer going in and the final offer that you're going to put in at that point, or start a bidding wars where they go, do you want to bid any higher? And you've seen this with agents using this tactic bit unscrupulously as well, so be careful of that. Even though they know that the market is currently how it is, they could just say that there's an offer there when there might not even be. So always be a bit wary of that. And I've been falling into this situation before where they've said they had offers, yet the property's still there weeks, months down the line. So you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, and they do use their tactics. But within this market, you never know where you're really going to be at. There could be lots of interest, and especially if you've got a deal, it's likely you're going to get snapped up quite quickly. Overall then, you've got less time to think about the actions that you're taking. I know that you want to do your due diligence and make sure that you're buying the best property and you're secure in the transaction, so you know that it's going to be a good investment, but you have less time to do so. So you need to make sure your numbers are getting done quickly, making offers really quickly. I mean, we've even been in the position where we're offering before we even see the property because of the level of competition. So speed wins in this market. Offers and making lots of offers is the way to be successful within this market. So with the less properties coming to the market, there's the same buyers going for the same properties. Now, that increase in the demand has really shifted things, and you can see that you've got people trying to go for specific streets that they want to live in. Even just investors are all going for the same houses. I know multiple investors have gone to view exactly the same houses that I have, and it's causing bidding wars. I don't know how people are paying some of the prices they got, and this is why off-market strategies really do favor within a seller's market. So go check out our direct-to-vendor video in the link above. So a massive benefit if you are a seller is you're likely to sell the property quicker, and I mean a lot quicker. The average on-market days has gone down dramatically since the pandemic, which is a massive benefit then for the seller, because obviously they can get their property sold really quickly. But obviously if you're an investor offering quick sales, I mean, even on market, the properties are selling rapidly. So it might not be as an attractive offer just to sell quickly, because that's happening anyway. So ultimately, the power is in the seller's hands in this market. That comes down to the terms that the seller want, how quickly they want the money. Do they want it in cash as opposed to just mortgage? They might be more willing to get cash offers. I've also got another video on how to get your offer accepted in today's market, which I'll link in the description below. So ultimately, what we want to understand is whether we're in a seller's or a buyer's market. I've broken down exactly what you need to understand whether we're in a buyer's or a seller's market, but at the moment, I can comfortably say that we are in a seller's market. The increased competition, the lack of supply, the increase in house prices. Well, we want to know where we are in this cycle. So we go through the boom and bust of the 18-year property cycle, and those are some of the interesting aspects of it. And I think I'll do a video on that as well. But you can see some of the interesting aspects of the fact that we are seeing the mania of buying of houses. We're seeing the increase in prices. We're seeing the lack of supply overall, and that increase in demand, which is then causing the upward pressure. So if you are familiar with the 18-year property cycle, and what that means is that we typically go through booms and busts, and that is exactly what happens in the stock market as well. So overall, it's just protecting yourself, knowing that if you are buying within this market, you need to be protecting yourself for the investment that you're going to make, because you could be at the phase where we're about to collapse and then we're going into a recession. But you don't know that. You don't know exactly. And anybody who says they know exactly what's going to happen in the market is a pure liar, and I can guarantee that. So if you do look at it, just know the signs and be wary of it. And this is what you need to think of within a buyer's or a seller's market overall. So if you have liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know, have you been through a buyer's market before? The good old days when you were able to buy property on market for below market value? Because if you have, I would love to know what that was like. The feel of you exhilaratingly going through property and buying anything you wanted back in the good old days, as I've been told. Well, I haven't had the privilege to go through that, but let us know in the comments. Give us a like, because it really does help the channel. It can make more videos just like this, so help more property investors grow their portfolio and be successful investors in buy-to-let property investment.